Alright, welcome to the Rock Starter Kit. So you buy your guitar, you buy your cable, you buy your amp. I will have just a brief thing before we really get into the meat and potatoes of this. I am going to assume that you will have a good understanding of open chords and at least a basic understanding of the most basic of scales like the pentatonic and things like that. If you've watched this and you're a complete beginner and you found it useful, let me know in the comments below, and then I will make a video going over any specific topic that I can give you any information about. But I will assume that you know at least some open chords. So now that we've got that out of the way, I want to talk to you about your amp. So come on over here really quick. Right now, I have my bass set to 7, my middle set to, well, I'm rounded up to a nice little 8, and my treble at 6. I would be a little bit leery, be a little bit careful on the treble side, because it can be really sharp, especially when you crank up the volume. My gain is currently set to 7, and I am on the gain channel. So that is, I keep the volume low because that gain really adds up really quick, but just going over that. And what I've done is, to demonstrate, I don't really need to mess with that too much now that I have, you know, my knobs. I went the longest time playing guitar without using my knobs, like once. And then one day I was at a house party, and there was actually a country guitarist there. He lived out in Nashville. My girlfriend's giving me a look right now. I don't like country, it's a whole thing. I'll go into someday. But I noticed while he was playing, because we didn't have a distortion pedal. I recently found out Van Halen never used a distortion pedal either, but I kept noticing, you know, he would be playing like his right hand technique, and he would be adjusting these knobs the entire time he is playing, and I thought that was impressive because I had never really tinkered with these things. And I learned some new stuff, and now I'm going to pass it on to you guys. Whoever watches this comes across this video. So, your volume knob doesn't really, yes, it controls the volume, but a volume is not really a good label for it. It actually more or less controls gain. So right now, if I turn it up all the way right now, it would be blasting, like heavy distortion. But I got it toned down and I can actually play some open chords. It almost has a little bit of a crunch, kind of like an acoustic, and that kind of makes it cool. So this is like pretty low on the volume. Sounds gorgeous. If I turn that up just a little bit, So, in case nobody's ever shown you that, all that is you put your palm right here. This is called palm muting. If you play rock, it's going to be your best friend. So you put your palm, like this side of your hand right here, you just put it right there and you just play regularly and you mute the strings. But with distortion, I'm going to crank it all the way up. With distortion, it sounds great. For everybody who was learning guitar for metal, that's how you do that noise that you guys all like to hear, myself included. More on that later. I'm going to dial it back down a little bit. Beautiful. Alright, so outside of that, now I just want to talk about power chords, what they are, what they aren't, and how you can use them. So, I'm going to crank up the distortion. Alright, that's some good crunch. So, I used to think power chords were barred chords. I was on the right track of mine. A lot of people do bar them when they play. But what you're really looking for, and what I've learned over the years, is that any real two-note cluster, a little dyad, double stop if you will, that's like the two terms for them. Any little dyad that's like right next to each other can be a power chord. And this actually melted my brain. Like my whole concept of musicality changed once I learned this, because not only that, if you crank up the gain, once again, two notes kind of sounds gnarly. I'll go in, I actually have a video on natural harmonics. I'll post that in the link. I'll post a link to it. I'm not used to actually trying in these videos. This is wild for me. Anyway, so think power chords, what I'm thinking of, I'm taking a chord, so in this case C major, right? C major open chord, I'll dial it back. And then I'm going to think G major. What I'm going to attempt to do is I'm going to water these chords down to the bare essence of what I'm looking for inside of that chord, because the truth of the matter is you definitely need to practice strumming, but the reality is you will not always be strumming all 6 strings at all times. I think everybody can kind of come into this hobby knowing that. And so these little dyads kind of really turn everything around on that, on top of itself. But C major, I want these 2 notes right here. Doesn't that sound amazing? And you've probably done this already, tinkering with it, but yeah, there's a name for it. And so now I can move these little things all over the fretboard, and I use a claw grip kind of technique, the way I play. Do not use this as a crutch. Make sure you still learn those bar chords and you know how to play them, you know. But my preference when I do certain songs and stuff is I will use the claw grip. And that's because I use this formation a lot in my own composition, so I have a little bit of a thing. But from C major, so G major. And this would be a F sharp diminished if we were to play this. This is a 2-note dyad of it. But I just like to play the root right here. And then E major, sorry, E minor. So just playing little 2-note clusters. And I got the distortion dialed back just a hair, but so here we go. And then what I'd like to do, actually there's a great song, there's a great example of this. Lives rent-free in my head. It's from the song Jesus of Suburbia. It's this little cluster right here. So it goes, this formation, can you see my hands? It is your A string on the 4th fret and your D string on the 6th fret. And you transition down by 1 flat on where your index finger was. But the reason why I like it so much is, especially when you have your volume knob, you can kind of use it as a form of juxtaposition to get you to that beautiful heavy chorus that you know that song has in it. So now, crank it up, play bar chords. And so you can try to use as much of what you already paid for as possible. There's a lot of options out there, but most importantly, have fun practicing. The biggest indicator I have found for success with this hobby is if you enjoy practicing, if you enjoy grinding these skills, you will succeed and you will get there. It just takes time.